Good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. Today we have a really special conversation with Robert Sundelius, healthcare transformer and disruptive champion. This is a pretty deep conversation for a Monday morning, but it's an important one. In particular, with the run up to the annual HIMSS conference. It's evident Irma here as always. Robert, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you this morning.
Hi,
Good to
Robert.
see
Long
you.
time coming, but we're finally talking. That's
We're
great.
finally here. This is great. Thank you.
And, we're just talking about springtime has arrived. You're in Michigan, we're here in Boston. See the green shoots, 70-degree temperatures. So we're all feeling very optimistic and upbeat. But Robert, are you feeling optimistic and upbeat about our healthcare system? Because maybe introduce yourself and your perspective and career, your journey in the healthcare world.
Certainly, I describe myself as a realistic optimist. So, hope never disappoints, and I remain hopeful. Having said that, there are very difficult challenges in our current medical care systems and healthcare systems. As way of slight background, I've been in the current healthcare industry for 20 plus years, filled roles at the C-suite for the vast majority of those years. I've had an opportunity to consult across the United States for 10 of those years in varied business models and entity sizes. So I've seen dozens and dozens of different healthcare entities and models. And the thing that's impressed me most in that journey, quite frankly, are very committed individuals that work tirelessly to make our healthcare system better and couple that with the reality that we're not seeing the fruit of that labor. In fact, just the opposite. We're seeing a rise in all of the trend lines in the wrong direction for heart disease, obesity, for diabetes, for pulmonary disease, mental health issues. We're seeing those in younger and younger populations. We're dealing with staffing shortages and burnout, physicians, RNs, caregivers. We're seeing health systems that are hemorrhaging in their bottom line. So it's a very difficult place that we find ourselves, and yet I remain optimistic and I remain hopeful.
Optimism is good, but maybe consider yourself, a doctor for a moment. What if you were to diagnose our current system before we talk about solutions and change and transformation?
Yeah.
Describe the state of the landscape today in healthcare, because it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. We have what I describe as a sick care system that was built specifically to address reactive response to sick care, illness, and injury. So we have purposely over decades built a system to do exactly what it's doing. I say that we are wonderfully prepared to address what we do know and woefully unprepared to address what we don't. And I believe that we hit a tipping point with COVID that really revealed a lot of the foundational weaknesses in our current system because we've accelerated a number of themes on a number of different fronts that are creating a significant burden and stress on our current medical care or sick care systems. So I would diagnose our current sick care system as one that is hemorrhaging, so one that needs emergency care to stop the bleeding, that needs significant transformation. And then I would suggest that what we need to do is begin the seed creation of entirely distinctly different parallel system that moves us long term in a very different direction. So that would be my summary overview of the current state.
Parallel system. That's very interesting because when we talk about transformation in business or in healthcare, it's often presented as a revolution or a change. We have to break down the current system and rebuild it from scratch. So, and of course, when it comes to healthcare, you'd say, how is it even possible? We can't, like, we're already struggling in the system that there is. So how can we break it down further, or take it offline so it could be rebuilt
Right.
better? So tell us more about this parallel system that you're envisioning, and maybe touch base on some of the key points in your recent LinkedIn article about healthcare singularity. We found it very fascinating.
Yes, certainly. I never advise people to burn down the house you're living in until you've built a new house, right? Um, and to me, that's a great word picture. We have a lot of individuals with strong influence and voice that are talking about burning down the current medical care system. Like we need to transform, we need to disrupt, et cetera. And I believe that to be true. My posture is one of focusing on building the new house as we address the hemorrhaging in the current house. And maybe a word picture from a different industry. We all know that the tobacco industry has been killing people for decades and decades. There is a company in the tobacco industry, and please do not think I'm supporting this organization. I'm not, planting a seed here at all because the jury is still out. But Philip Morris International has come out with a statement that they are burning down their current house and building a new one by creating no harm products by the year 2030. So, from an international perspective, they're saying, yes, we have killed people, we have done harm. We need to transform our entire global operation to move from harm products to no harm products. And we've got to do that by building new competencies, new ecosystems, new product lines, new collaborations. That is not for the faint of heart. Obviously, they've got a reputation to overcome. They've got significant shareholder influence. But when you think about burning down their house, just the tobacco tax in the state of Michigan alone is hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, where we fund bridges and schools and social service programs. And if we were to turn off that light switch today, and all of a sudden we sell no more cigarettes and we have no more tobacco tax, then we have no revenue to fund those very important things. So the transition process is one that I think is critical. So when we talk about healthcare, yes, we have to address the hemorrhaging in our current system. We have to address physician burnout, staffing shortages. We have to address the payer perverse incentives. We have to address the lack of access. And we could go on and on and on with those issues. What I find fascinating after 20 plus years in this industry is that there are very, very few people focused on building the new house, building a true health ecosystem. And I want to touch on something I heard from one of your recent live casts, and I can't remember who said it, but it struck me, and I'm taking it and I'm going to run with it. Innovation often comes from outside the orthodoxy, right? Innovation often happens from the outside of the inside edge, or it happens from industry sectors or collaborations that are completely new. And I believe that we have opportunity to work with the tech industry, with the leading brands that are social influencers that hold great weight. We have all of the tools that we need in generative artificial intelligence, in cognitive computing, in neuroscience, in behavioral economics, and in the understanding of social network physics to put all of those together and to begin to create influence, education, and incentive around human flourishing. Not for the faint of heart, but that's really where my passion is, and that's the direction that I'm moving.
Wow, that's super exciting. Um, Now, you talk about the many components of change. Obviously, we have a pretty high quality healthcare system, but accessibility is a problem and cost, is just an unbelievable issue. How do we begin to pivot and maintain quality while increasing accessibility and lowering costs? I mean, we spend more on healthcare than any country in the world and get worse results. How do you break this bond that we have with our current legacy system?
Yeah, there's no easy button. I don't know if you remember those commercials, years ago with the easy button on TV. If anybody tells you that healthcare is simple and we've got all the answers, they're either very uneducated or they're lying to you. It's very complex. My perspective is really focusing on the long-term journey. If you think about the word picture of planting an orchard or planting a vineyard, it's often described in terms that our society today tends to turn from and run the opposite direction. We're more interested in building unicorns in healthcare. We want an immediate return on investment. We want to find where the profit pools are, right? When you think about building or creating an orchard or a vineyard, it's a slow process. You plant seed, you remove weeds, you create fertile ground over time. It's an unglamorous process that requires close attention year after year after year. And it's a process that's lifelong. And the best fruit is often realized by generations that come after. So one of the reasons I'm so motivated about this is my own children, right? If we take a cohort of children, 11 to 15 years old and 16 to 20 years old, and we look at the expected impact of obesity, heart disease, pulmonary disease, cancer, mental health issues when they turn 40 and 50, we can draw a trend line that is staggering and sobering. What if we were to create a system that begins to move that trend line just 2 percentage points over a 10 to 15-year period? Just in heart disease, 2 percentage points is billions of dollars a year in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's a process of using all the tools that we have at hand to begin to build, invest, and begin to change the trend line for future generations. We are going to provide value, obviously, to current generations as we build this ecosystem. The key for me, though, is I want my children's children to wake up in a society where human flourishing is the trend line, that there is a reduction in diseases that we don't have to experience, and that we've impacted unnecessary societal pain and unnecessary economic burden. We have a hemorrhaging medical system, in my opinion, because they're overburdened. There are too many sick, ill, and injured people for them to take care of. When we have the American Pediatric Association collaborating with the American Psychological Association and saying we have an epidemic of mental health illness and disease in children in our country, when we're dealing with adolescents staying in emergency rooms weeks at a time because we don't have the right care in place or the right resources, it's unconscionable. So we have an overburdened system built to address what they're addressing. We have volume and trends that are creating so much stress that they can't manage the trend line.
So there seems to be a contradiction, though, in terms of to create this true healthcare system that you're talking about, you have to focus upstream and focus on this flourishing. You also have this long horizon in mind of years and decades, which really contradicts our general culture, not just in healthcare, but in business and everywhere, focusing on immediate, maybe quarter by quarter results, and also perverse incentives, we can say, and how health insurance is not tied to a person, it's tied to the employer. If somebody's lucky to have an insurance, to be employed and have an insurance. So who can incentivize the creation of this new system?
Mm.
when we just, the horizons in which we're thinking is just it's very different.
Yeah, it is very different. I was actually very surprised. I published an article back in September, and I would encourage your listeners to go take a look at that. It's called Toward a Healthcare Singularity. When I published that, I was actually surprised by the response. I started receiving calls from the World Health Organization, the United Nations, from different countries, Australia, New Zealand, India, from former Gates Fellows to current healthcare executives, academic institutions. And the overwhelming response was we absolutely need to invest and build in this direction. And then the very next statement, and I'm paraphrasing, was good luck with that. Good luck with that. And they touched on exactly what you're touching on, is that we have uh, environments, societal emphasis, business environments that focus on short term, that focus on immediate return on investment. But I actually believe that we're reaching a tipping point. And that tipping point is what I describe quite simply as unbearable pain. We are at a point where the societal pain, and it's not just the United States. If you look at the national health system in the UK, if you look at what's happening in New Zealand, in Australia, if you look at the issues in India, there are some budding synergies that are happening. Singapore is a good example, but we have globally are beginning to reach a tipping point of unbearable pain. Because here's the common struggle, and it's oversimplification, and people will push back, but here's the common struggle. You have a lone individual that is attempting to use willpower, right, to address their daily choices in health and well being. And they are up against an army of scientists and exceptional creative technicians that are armed with behavioral computing, neuroscience, artificial intelligence, social networks that are encouraging you to move in all the wrong directions for economic gain. Whether it's fat and sugar, whether it's consuming content, right, that creates mental health issues, whether it's accessible pornography, whether it's diminished relationship, it's fascinating. All of the systems that we wake up and go, they are influencing me every day in my daily micro choices. And I ask this question: why can't we use the same tools to create a parallel system that begins to influence us in daily micro choices toward human flourishing? That means strengthening relationships. It means daily movement and healthy nutrition. It means mental health and good thinking and hope and optimism. And I believe that we have the opportunity to do it. We've simply not put the pieces together yet to move us in that direction. And I think the economic incentive will come from the tribe that shares the long term view and finds a way to create an economic engine for incremental gain. And I believe some of that is rooted in our most trusted and powerful brands. So if you think apparel, if you think food, if you think entertainment, if you think sports, if you think travel, they all have a role to play. I believe civil society has a role to play. I believe there is some government role that's to play here. And it's putting these pieces together, framing the initial seed in this ecosystem, and then continuing to create economic engines of discovery over years that change those trend lines. And again, it's a long-term vision and a long-term investment. Now is the time. If we don't, and if we continue these trend lines, I don't want that for my children. I don't want it for my grandchildren.
Yeah, that's such an important mission and vision. And geeks like me believe tech is the answer to everything, which of course it's not. But you do talk about the building of a 24/7 opt-in AI-enabled digital health model. Could you expand on that a little bit? And is there anyone out there, taking the lead when it comes to this new vision?
Yeah, there are companies that are dipping their toes in this water. They're very early stage. I have a colleague, Bhargav Prakash, associated with Carnegie Mellon University, kind of the birthplace of artificial intelligence, some of that early work. Bhargav has been given, he's earned the first patent in the United States, and some of those are global for digital vaccine work. Carnegie Mellon is collaborative with him. But when we use the term vaccine, we think about taking a needle, putting it in our arm, and it changes cell structure, right? He's actually gone through phase 1, 2, and 3 drug trials, has created a digital vaccine that is a gaming platform. We use these all the time that actually changes your neurocognition and neurotransmitter so that you make healthy choices in nutrition and you make healthy choices in daily movement. They are beginning to expand that work. They were just awarded by the International Financial Times the most innovative company of 2022. And if you were asked 10 people if they know about digital vaccines and Bhargav, you'd get a half a person maybe that would go, yeah, I'm aware of that. So very early stage and budding. There are others out there that are working with global brands, just starting this conversation. I think of my colleague Raman Rafi, who's with a company called Unleash. I would encourage you to Google that as well. But it's very, very early stage. It's very slow going for a lot of different reasons. We've touched on some of those in terms of economic incentive and people's investment horizon. But these are individuals who have an intrinsic mission to actually make the world a better place and are committed and making decisions to do that over long rhythms of time, knowing that they're going to hand off a baton to future generations who are going to take it and continue to move it. So it is happening, very early stage. And we all know this, right? You could have one of these live casts on the cadence of change. We know it's going to be different next Tuesday, 6 months from next Tuesday, and in 18 months, who knows? And I believe the momentum and that flywheel will pick up dramatically in the months ahead.
Wonderful. Tell us about your personal journey. You've been a long time insider to the industry. You've seen
Mm.
everything good, bad, and different inside. You've been an outsider, of course. What's your personal view of your role in this process, and how you help people with this journey?
Yeah. Personally, for me, it starts with two questions. How can I serve? And in serving, how do I add the most value? So I have been gifted with decades of experience that has given me a toolkit. I've led, billion-dollar plus portfolios in the medical industry sector. I've worked in startups, developed companies, raised 10 and 11 figures of capital investment in organizations. I'm a builder and a creator. I'm also a strategist and a maximizer. When I say maximizer, I take zero and make one. I take one and make 10. I take 10 and make 100. That is in no way wanting to put a notch on a belt, but it's about creating momentum to bring to life a worthy cause and mission and vision and value that actually creates a difference in the lives of the people that are being served. And I've seen so much good in the current health industry sector, and I'm dedicated in whatever time I have left. If I'm strong and healthy, that will be a number of decades. Who knows? I could get hit by a bus next Tuesday. But in the time that I have left, I am dedicated to work diligently to create this true health ecosystem, to come alongside those who are working in this space, to create collaboration and links between these organizations, and then to ensure that the foundational projects are coming to life and that they're being resourced and that we're actually seeing an evolving beehive of activity in this space to create long-term outcomes. So that's my role. That's where I'm focused currently, and I'm passionate about it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, your enthusiasm is infectious as always. Really great hearing your vision and mission. What are you excited about over the next few weeks and months? Do you have any trips personally, professionally, any talks or events
Um,
you're particularly looking forward to?
Yeah, just finished up a talk at Athens University of Economics and Business with UBI out of Brussels. That
Mm,
was exciting. I was excited to be published at the World Economic Forum in Davos in January. That was via the Diplomatic Courier and Davos Dialogue 2023. Current conversations are still happening. I'm meeting with a group of folks and actually putting a conference around this concept that would be integrated with current activities in the innovation space. Reading, continuing speaking, writing, and then directly connecting with a couple of the companies that I mentioned and helping to create go-to-market momentum in collaboration in those areas. So again, it all changes on a weekly basis. I'm excited about the journey, and I'm excited about what we're going to see unfold in the weeks and months ahead.
awesome. Well, it's so exciting to chat with you in depth. I look forward to consuming more of your content. Your writing is fantastic. Looking forward to seeing folks at HIMSS, which is just next week.
Yep.
So the annual get together, and Irma and I will be going to Portugal for a conference, which a fascinating place, one of those blue zones, around Europe, around the Mediterranean, where people seem to have that life
Mm.
balance figured out. So yeah, I look forward to that. And yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much for the investment of time. I appreciate it. I look forward to further conversation. Thank you.
Yeah,
Also, as we continue to meet people on a daily basis, as we meet some new and old friends at HIMSS, what can we tell people in terms of the call to action? Can individuals or people with some authority who are also interested in the mission that you are talking about, how can people get involved? Is there a small way that people can contribute? Is there a big way that they could make a difference?
Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. The first call to action would be if, quite simply, if you are aware of individuals or organizations that are actively building or creating in this space, whether in the United States or globally, please DM me on Twitter or LinkedIn. You'll find me there, both places. Connect with me. I'm interested in building a coalition of the willing who are actively moving in this space. Second, please help in amplifying the message. And again, I want to be very clear. We shouldn't burn down the house we're living in before we build the new one. So help amplify the message about building this new true health ecosystem. So if there's writing that you resonate, if there's tweets that you resonate with, if you see other people, amplify the message. And then third, and this is the most difficult, what do I personally know about my own health literacy? And do I realize I am the most responsible person for my health and well being? So, what's my health literacy and what's my personal health agency? And am I reaching out to organizations that are really helping me with that? And if not, why not? So,
Hmm.
those would be the three calls to action.
And I
wow.
want to throw in one more thing. We talk about burnout, we talk about physicians, nurses, others in the healthcare industry leaving en masse because of moral injury, because of physical and mental burnout. But those people, because they originally went into the profession they're passionate about helping patients. So how can we co-opt this entire cohort of people who have left kind of the official, the standard healthcare system, and might also be interested in building a new enlightened healthcare as opposed to sick care? How can we give them an outlet to contribute?
Yeah, that's a really good point. First for me, obviously, I would say take time to rest, right? As individuals. So if you find yourself in a place of burnout, or you're contemplating leaving the medical care institution, in Michigan here, and I would encourage you to Google this. They just did a survey of 9,000 RNs across the state of Michigan. 43+% of those 9,000 are contemplating leaving the nursing field within the next 12 months. 43%. And it's because of burnout. And I would encourage folks, rest, but don't quit. So take the time to step back, take the time to find your personal safety space, right? To rejuvenate, to renew. And then I would encourage, begin to look for those individuals and organizations that want to transform into something different. So don't keep going back at the buzzsaw. Begin to connect with folks who are really moving in this space. There are social media accounts with physician entrepreneurs. There's SOMI docs, with folks on social media that are doing different things in this space. So I would encourage, find your tribe, be active in the beehive, be active in connecting with people. Don't quit, because we need you. We need your talent. We need your mission orientation, and we need everything that you can bring to bear to help us create a better future.
Wow. Well, that's the mic drop moment. That's the highlight in the last minute here. Rest, don't quit. I love it. Well, thanks so much, Robert and Irma. It was a really great conversation. Not even noon on Monday, and I feel like rejuvenated here. So thanks for watching, everyone.
Take care.
And we'll see you on Twitter and LinkedIn.